Hey everyone, this is Math Done Right, and in this video we're going to be looking at the end behavior of polynomials with odd degree. Now, if you're not sure what the degree of a polynomial is, make sure you check out my other video on the end behavior of even degree polynomials, and in that video I talk about the degree, the leading coefficient, and then how to do the end behavior. So if you're not sure about some of the things I'm saying in this video, make sure you check that one out first and then come back here and work on the odd degree stuff. Now, just like with the even degree, we have two cases for the leading coefficient. You can either have the leading coefficient being positive or the leading coefficient being negative. Now, the way I like to remember the difference between these two is, well, when the leading coefficient is positive with an odd degree polynomial, my end behavior looks like this, and then for the negative, it's just flipped in the opposite direction. And I want to think about, like, what does y equals x cubed look like? Now, right, this is odd degree. The degree is 3, so it's odd. The leading coefficient is 1, so it's positive. And we know that that function looks like this, right? So if I were to cut out all this stuff in the middle right here, so let me get some green, right? If I were to cut out all this stuff, what am I left with is, oh, I get the end behavior, right? It looks just like this. Now, if I were to make this, I go to the negative side and I have y equals negative x cubed, right? Odd degree, negative leading coefficient, and it flips it. And so I want to think about, put that in quotes, it's going to look like this guy. Right? So the idea here is I just care about what the ends are doing. I don't care about the stuff in the middle necessarily, just about what's going on at the end. Right? If I get rid of some of this stuff in the middle, and then I know the end of my graph is going to look like this. Alright, so let's look at a few examples. Alright, example 1, let's say f of x equals 3x cubed plus 5x squared plus x plus 100. Alright, so I look at all of my exponents. I've got a 3, a 2, a 1 here, and then 100 is technically a 0. And I pick out the biggest one, so it's 3. Right, so my degree is 3, and then I look at the coefficient of that term, and it's also 3, which is positive. So that means I know my end behavior is going to look something like this, with some random stuff going on in the middle. I'm not entirely sure, but all I care about is the end behavior right now. Alright, let's do another one. Okay, so for this next one, let's say f of x is negative x to the 5th plus 5x squared minus 7x to the 9th plus 3. Now again, I look at all my exponents. I have a 5, a 2, a 9, and a 0. And the biggest one's 9. Whoops, it's not clicking. The biggest one is 9, so my degree of this polynomial is 9, and then the coefficient is, the leading coefficient is negative 7. Now, this whole term right here is not at the front, but it doesn't matter. I could rearrange this to make it in the front. The leading coefficient isn't determined by its position inside of the equation. It's determined by what is the degree of the polynomial, right? The degree is 9, so I care about the coefficient of that term. So that's where my leading coefficient of negative 7 comes from. And now I see the leading coefficient is negative, and so that means that the end behavior is going to look something like this with a bunch of jumble going on the inside, right? I don't know what's going on in the middle. All I care about for this video and this tutorial is the end behavior. Alright, well, that's everything for the end behavior of a polynomial with odd degree. Remember that there's two cases. If the leading coefficient's positive, it's going to look one way, and if it's negative, it's going to look another way. So there's a few things you have to identify in order to say what the end behavior is, and then from there, we're going to learn how to do a few more things to actually graph these things more detailed. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Bye.